Right. So hopefully you see the full screen now, and even if I change the slides, you can still see what's going on. Um, and yeah, just for a bit of housekeeping, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat, or please wait for the end of the presentation, and then we can have a Q&A just to keep the flow of the presentation. So let's talk about Hungary a little bit for the introduction. Hungary is located in East Central Europe, and it's a relatively small country with a population of about 9.9 million people. The currency is the Hungarian forint. The official language is Hungarian. It's one of the most difficult languages in the world, but if students come here as full-time students, then they will not have a problem, learning it. There are a few exceptions, of course, because medical students and students in health sciences like nursing will have to learn a basic level of Hungarian for their clinical rotations, for their practice, because obviously they have to interact with local patients. But generally, if you're a full-time student, you don't have to learn the language, although we always recommend to just, learn a bit of basics because it goes a long way with the locals. If you just say hi or thank you in the local language, people really appreciate the effort. Now, the capital is Budapest. We are not based in Budapest. We are based in the city of Pécs. It's about 2.5 hours away from the capital, but most of the international flights would arrive to Budapest, and then students would have to make their way to the city of Pécs, for which there are a number of services available, shuttles, and the train is also connected, so it's really not hard to get here. We are members of the European Union, the NATO, OECD, and the Visegrad Group, and the Schengen Convention as well, which means that if a student comes here to study and they obtain a Type D visa, then they will have the chance to travel to all these European Union and Schengen countries. Um, Hungary is one of the oldest European countries. It was founded in 896, and it's among the top 50 most popular tourist destinations in the world. We are famous for our thermal springs, for example, um, and we are also widely known for our music festivals, sports, and cultural events as well. As I said, it's a great location, East Central Europe. You can see all the countries that are surrounding us. And as I said, with a Type D visa, the students have the chance to explore Europe. And they do love to do that, our current students. In their free time, after they are done with their exams, they can just get on budget flights and go to the next country, go to the next city to explore. So it's a great opportunity if someone's interested in that. Let's talk a little bit about higher education in Hungary. The first university was established in 1367. That was actually our university, the University of Pécs. We applied the Bologna system, the popular higher education system within Europe, which means that we offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level programs. And we also have something called an undivided master's degree program, or an OTM, a one-tier master's program, as we would say, which basically means that students can start their studies at an undergraduate level after high school, and they would complete the program in 5, 6 years, but they would end up with a master's degree, not just a bachelor's degree. Typical programs like this would be general medicine, dentistry, architecture, pharmacy, some of the fine arts programs like painting, sculpting, and also graphics design. We are part of the European credit transfer system, and a degree issued by our institution is going to be automatically recognized within the European Union and also beyond the European Union. It's just then the and the process for recognizing the degree can be very different. You might need to take extra administrational steps or extra exams might be needed. Uh, so yeah, but all of our degrees are widely recognized and we are highly accredited internationally as well. Two types of classes that we have, seminars and lectures. And the types of examinations are written tests, oral exams, project works, or essays. There's a 5-point grade system where 5 is the best grade and 1 would be a fail. And one academic year consists of 2 semesters, and they make up a total of 10 months from September until the end of June. Our main intake is the September intake, the fall intake. So most of our programs would start from September, and only just a handful of programs start from the spring. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the city of Pécs. Um, yeah, this might be a little bit blurry, but these are just some photos to show you the general vibe of the city. You can see on the left side the main square and some beautiful European architecture, and it's a very, sunny and happy place to be at. It's a historic city that dates back to the late Roman Empire and the early Christian times. We have actual ruins in the city that date back um, centuries, basically. And the city's been always very multicultural, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious. And nowadays, it's really a welcoming place for international students. We have a big international community, and the locals are very used to international people walking about and, studying and going about their business. Um, it's not too big. We have about 150,000 people living here. The biggest employer in the region is the university, so we call this city basically a university city or a university town. And as I said, it's not too big. It's really easy to get around. There's public transportation available, and it's frequent. And basically, you can get from one end of the city to the other end in about 25 minutes with a bus. And public safety is great. I know that's also really important for parents to hear and also the students. So they can go out in the evening, at night. Students are not going to be bothered. There's no major crime here, or if there is, it's at least not on regular basis. So very safe place to be. And yeah, as I said, the city is not too big, but it's not too small either. There's always something to do. We have our own music festivals. We have something called a light festival. A lot of university held events for international students, like the International Evening is probably the biggest one, or flag parties, or collaborations with local pubs and local places to go where they have themed events for international students. Also, we are surrounded by nature. You can go on a hike, you can go have a picnic at the nearby lakes. So it's really an all-around great place to be at. But if somebody's missing the big city buzz, then they can just go to Budapest, which is also very available, 2.5 hours away for the weekend and explore there. So let's talk about the university itself. And I brought you some numbers. As I said, the university is the oldest university in the country, has more than 650 years of history. We have 25,000 enrolled students currently. That's the total number of students, out of which, and that's old figures, sorry about that, but 5,700 are the actual numbers of international students, and they come from 146 sending countries. So it's very diverse. We usually say wherever you come from, you will find someone from your own country or at least the same region. but you will also have the chance to meet other people and learn about other cultures as well. So if students are interested in that, it's a great opportunity. We also have more than 40 years of experience in, and that's a mistake there, a typo. Sorry about that. Not higher education, obviously, because we are hundreds of years old, but in English taught international education. It all started at our medical school in 1984. Pécs is ranked 14th among Europe's best student cities, according to Campus Advisor in 2024. Also, in the same year, we were selected as the most affordable European student city by the same website. We were also just recently ranked as the best Hungarian university in two categories, according to the QS World University Rankings, learning experience and international students. We have 10 faculties, 28 of our own clinics, and 8 dormitories located in the residential area of Pécs. We also hold a number of international accreditations, for example, in business administration, also in the business master's programs nowadays, in architecture, and the medical school, as part of the Medical Board of California and the World Federation for Medical Education as well. So as I said, we have 10 faculties. You can see them here. The medical school, well, let me give you a few examples because we have more than 100 degree programs on different levels, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral too. And let me give you just a few examples of the programs that we offer so you have a general picture of it. So for medical school, general medicine and dentistry are obviously the most popular ones, but they also offer biotechnology on a master's level. Then we have the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, where you have a lot of programs, but the most popular ones would be psychology, communication and media science, international relations, and maybe social work, social policy. Then we have the Faculty of Business and Economics. They only have one bachelor program in English, which is Business Administration and Management. But it's a great one. It's a popular one because it's also internationally accredited, as I said earlier, and they also have master's programs to follow up with if somebody's interested in getting a master's degree, which are namely business development and management and leadership. Then we have the Faculty of Music and Visual Arts. It's a more traditional style faculty with the fine arts programs like painting, sculpting, ceramics design, choir conducting, or classical singing. And you can also learn about different musical instruments. Um, and also graphics design is also available in a one-tier master's degree format, as I mentioned before. Then we have the Faculty of Pharmacy, where they obviously have a pharmacy, OTM, a one-tier's master's program, where after 5 years, students become doctors of pharmacy. They also have biotechnology on a bachelor's level. And they also just recently started combining the two, which means that students can take pharmacy and biotechnology classes in a a built-in curriculum, and basically they in 6 years they can get their master's degree in pharmacy and a bachelor's degree in biotechnology. So that's 2 years shorter than they would actually need to complete the two programs separately. So it's a great opportunity. Then we have the Faculty of Cultural Sciences, Education and Regional Development. This is a smaller faculty, and the only program that they have in English is preschool teaching. They also have a bunch of other programs in Hungarian, but preschool teaching is the only one that's relevant to you. Then we have the Faculty of Engineering and IT. Obviously, here you can find the engineering programs like civil engineering, computer science engineering, mechanical, and architectural engineering. They also have architecture, as I said before. Yeah. Then we have the Faculty of Law. It's a bit of an odd one because they don't offer courses on a bachelor's level, but they have a master's program called International and European Law, and they also offer doctoral programs like International Law. Then we have the Faculty of Health Sciences with nursing, very popular, physiotherapy and dietetics. And they also have a bunch of master's program to follow up with, like masters in nursing, where students can specialize in a certain specific field of nursing. Um, Complex rehabilitation, sports management, sports coaching, and so on, nutrition as well on a master's level. Then we have the Faculty of Sciences at last, and they have the more pure science-based programs like physics, biology, chemistry, earth sciences, and so on. And probably the most popular program that they have is computer science, of course. So, we are a multi-campus university, as you could see on the previous slide, because all these different buildings, they look very different. So we are not an American-style campus university where you have everything at the same place, but the whole university is spread out across the city. So the different faculties are located at different spots. But they are also very well connected to the local infrastructure. They are generally located in these hubs where you have everything like restaurants, public transportation, shops and malls and all that. So students can really get a feel of the city, and a lot of the things that they would need in their everyday life is available very close by. So, don't want to spend too much time here. This is just a few more numbers for you. This is just showing that we kept increasing our student numbers. As I said, today it stands at around 5,700, and we would like to continue to do so, although at a slower pace and more focused on quality of the applicants. Then we have the top 15 sending countries in 2025. As you can see, a lot of the students are coming from Germany, China, Norway, Iran, Turkey, Jordan, Nigeria, and so on. But these are just the top 15 countries, and as I said, we have 146 nationalities represented at the university currently, so it's very, very diverse. Research and development, just a few words about this. So obviously there's prominent research in biotechnology and the healthcare industry happening at the university, and the use of smart technologies. And we have a 3D printing center, which is a collaboration between the Faculty of Engineering and IT and the medical school, where they are basically 3D printing prosthetics and different tools for the healthcare industry. Then we have a clinic center. So the healthcare infrastructure is very available and very present for our medical students. Then we have the Saint-Agathe Research Center, where you can find different fields of science represented and a lot of research going on. So, international degree programs, I covered this mostly. Also, the study levels and the study fields I talked about. Sorry for not keeping track of my slides, but it just made more sense explaining the way I did. But tuition fees, this is also very important. So on this slide, you can see a typical bachelor's program would cost between 3,400 to 8,000 euros per year. Master's program is between 3,000 to 11,000 euros per year. Medical programs are obviously on the more expensive end of the spectrum, between 14,300 euros to 15,000 euros per year. And then we have preparatory courses between 4,200 to 9,300 per program, depending on the length of the program. Now, when it comes to preparatory courses, I have to mention that these are not foundation programs in the traditional sense. These are language preparatories because, as I said, we have students from all around the world. Some students might not be speaking English to a certain level, to a certain standard that is required for degree programs. So we also offer English language preparatory courses for them. Depending on their level, they can take on a 5, 10 to 15 months course. And then you can see the price depends on the length of the course. And by the time they finish, hopefully they will have the level of English communicational skills that is required for a full-on degree program. Admission after completing a preparatory course is not guaranteed. They still have to go through the standard application process. So that's important to note. This is just to help their integration into a new environment and also to help their English speaking skills to develop. So that's that. The application procedure in a nutshell. This is also quite faded. Sorry about that. It's probably my slide settings. But so the application basically can be started two ways. Either the recruitment agent or the consultant submits the application for a student, or the student can also submit the application directly for themselves. So they basically have to go to our website, select a program that they are interested in, click on a huge apply now button that cannot be missed, basically, and it will redirect them to the application portal where they have to register or where the agency registers the student. Yeah, once they click there, they start their application by uploading their documents. There's going to be a checklist of the documents available, so it's really easy to keep track of. The students and the agent will see what's still missing, what's already submitted, and they also have to pay an application fee, and the application fee starts basically the process. So submission is not enough. An application fee has to be paid in order to start the evaluation process with the faculties, where they look through the documents and they will tell if the student is eligible to continue the application or not. If they are, they will be invited for an online interview slash entrance exam, where professors basically ask about their backgrounds, their motivations, what they know about the university, about Hungary, and they also might ask them questions that are closely related to the program of their choice. So in subjects that are closely related to the programs that they chose. So for example, if someone applies for medical school, then obviously they would have to answer questions related to biology or chemistry. Somebody applies for business, then it's probably going to be more on the mathematics side, or asking them real life business examples and what's their opinions on it, stuff like that. So it's a general interview, but at the same time, they test the knowledge of the applicant somewhat, to some extent. And that's true for most of the programs that we have, but the application procedure is not the same for everything that we offer. There are special exceptions. For example, the medical school has its very own written entrance exam. It's an online written entrance exam that is basically 100 multiple choice questions in the topics of biology, chemistry, medical English, and general English too. For the business bachelor's program, students will have to take a mathematics test just to test their knowledge and just to make sure that they can keep up with the mathematics of the program, because a lot of the subjects that you will find in the curriculum are rooted in mathematics, like macroeconomics, microeconomics, statistics, and all that. So that's just to filter them and make sure that they can keep up. Computer science applicants will also have to do a mathematics test. These are the programs that would require them to do to complete a written test. All the other programs do not require them. They just have to, they will just look at their documents, their GPA, maybe a motivational letter or a personal statement is going to be required, and they have to do the interview. For some of the more creative programs, a portfolio might also be required. For example, arts programs, obviously, but for architecture as well, because they have to show their genuine interest and their passion for the subject. So photos that they took maybe on holiday or drawings of buildings can be accepted. So things like that. It doesn't have to be a professional portfolio, obviously, at an undergraduate level. But just their passion and interest for the subject has to be shown. So, yeah, let's say they passed all their exams, maybe just an interview or the written exam. Then they will be sent a notification about the tuition fee, and most of the times they have to pay the first academic years, the first two semesters tuition fee, or sometimes the first semester's tuition fee. And once they do that, and once the payment is confirmed on our side, they receive the letter of acceptance, which is the single most important document that they need for their visa applications. So that's the process in a nutshell. Um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about entry requirements. Everything's available on our website in a very, very detailed way, but let's just generally give you the idea about it. So, as I said, we see students from all around the world and we see all kinds of curricula. International curriculums are obviously going to be accepted. May it be an IB diploma or British or American curriculum or whatever. But we also accept national curriculas as well. The point is, and the general rule is that the student should be eligible to apply for higher education in their own country. So their level of education in high school should be at a level which allows them to apply for higher education. Well, on the screen or on this slide, you can see different combinations of certificates and different levels that we expect. Also on the next slide, you can see that as well. And also the language requirement is there. So upper intermediate level of English is generally required. We accept all kinds of language certificates. As you can see, just a few examples here, but on our website, you will see a more extended list of them. So an IELTS 6.0 is going to be needed. If you can see TOEFL, Oxford, Duolingo English test is also accepted from a certain score. Not every faculty requires a language certificate. So I know there's a lot of buts and ifs in what I'm saying, but that's why I'm here to explain it to you. And also, if you have any questions or doubts, then you can always reach out to me just to clarify. But as I said, not every faculty needs a language certificate. The medical school says we will assess our applicants during the application procedure. That's why a large portion of the written test is based on English. As I said, medical English and general English is tested. And also during the entrance interview, they will obviously talk to the student and check their communicational skills. So that's also something. So the medical school does this, the faculty of engineering, the faculty of pharmacy, and I believe health sciences, but all the other faculties generally do require a language certificate, but they also do accept an MOI, a medium of instruction certificate. So if the student's previous studies in high school were held in English, if the student was taught in English, then that can be also accepted. One exception from this, and I'm sorry with all the exceptions, is the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. They don't generally accept an MOI. All right. Um, yeah, employability is also very important for the outcomes of these students and applicants. 80% of our respondents found a job immediately after graduation or within a couple of weeks. This data is from 2024. Usually the percentage moves between 80 to 90%. Um, yeah, and it's also important to note that graduates or those who are about to graduate can also apply for a study to work residence permit here in Hungary, which allows them to stay in the country for 9 months. And in those 9 months, they have to find a job or start a company of their own if they want to stay longer. Now, this is a possibility, but this is not the typical way our students would go about it. Um, they would generally go back to their own country and start a career there, or go to other countries and start a career there. What's the difficulty in staying here? Well, it's the language barrier. Because as I said, if you come here to study as a full-time student, you're not going to have any problems. The locals are very used to the presence of international people. The older generations don't usually speak English for historical reasons, but the younger generations do. But yeah, everybody's really friendly about international, so there's not a problem there. They can do their everyday business shopping whatsoever without Hungarian. If they want to find a part-time job or a job after graduation, then language barrier becomes more of an issue because it narrows down their choices. So students who would choose to stay here, they would generally go to Budapest, the capital, because that's where most international companies reside and they are hiring speaking staff. So that's also an option. But I'm just saying, generally, students would go to other countries, whoever graduates here. Um, yeah, and this is just to show you, there's not a lot to talk about here. It's just to show you that some major companies um, where our graduates work. Let's talk a little bit about living costs and accommodation, of course. Well, the average living cost would be around 600 euros per month, and that would include accommodation with utilities, um, food, entertainment spendings, and transportation spendings as well. This is just an average, so it can be less and it can be a lot more depending on the person and depending on the conditions. Obviously, a large factor uh, in this is the accommodation and also the entertainment spendings of the person, how much they go to restaurants, how much they cook for themselves. It's also a big factor. Dormitory placement for almost every international freshman, I would say, is around 230 euros on average nowadays per month. It's quite a full service for the dormitories because um, utilities are included in the price. They get weekly cleaning, change of sheets every 2 weeks. Wi-Fi is pretty much free in the building, and laundry is pretty much free. They just have to provide their own washing liquids whatsoever. Um, but it's shared dormitories. I also have to note that. So every student would have one roommate from the same gender, of course. Um, so yeah. And almost is a very, very important word because we have limited spaces. So we have to prioritize visa obligated students. So anyone who needs a visa is pretty much going to be guaranteed a dormitory placement, except for medical students, because we also find that most of the times medical students tend to move out from the dormitories quite shortly after arrival because they prioritize their own ability to study and their own privacy. Because, as I said, these are shared dormitories, and medical students obviously have to study a lot. And if somebody studies all night long and they have a roommate who wants to sleep, that can cause some conflicts. So medical students generally would prefer renting an apartment. Um, a fully furnished rented flat for two people starts from around 450 euros, including utilities, but then that's just an average, and then the sky is the limit, depending on the location, how well furnished, and how new it is. There are also certain services, not the universities, but third-party services that help international students to find these apartments and also with the contracts and everything. So really, it's not an extreme difficulty to find off-campus accommodation. And these are just a few photos of the dormitories that we have, just to show you. And yeah, student life. This is pretty much the last bit of my presentation. So just a little more of your patience is going to be needed, and then we can have the questions. So student life is also very important in the prospective students' choices that they make. It can be a major factor. And the student services on the university side, basically whatever helps them in their integration into a new environment, or, the services that make up their everyday life and assist our international students. So this is a really important bit, I think. And the first one, international student ambassadors are really important. They are our current students, and we have a chat with a student option on our website. So basically, students or agents can go to our website and see a list of these students with their names, what they study, where they come from, and a short introduction to them and their photos. And your students basically can chat with our current students and ask them anything. I think this is a really important service for prospective students because it helps build trust with them, because they can hear the experiences of our current students, possibly someone who comes from the same country or someone who studies the same thing that they want to pursue. And I think this should be utilized more by our agencies as well. It should be recommended to their students because it's just a great way to gather information. Obviously, the students that you're working with will know that you are basically doing a paid service, and the university representative is also paid to give them the selling points of the university. But if they talk to our current students, they will get the good, the bad, and everything in between, their own experience. So I think this is really important. Then we have the personal mentors, which is a similar service just for a different stage of students or applicant, because these personal mentors are assigned to every freshman after they basically arrive to Pécs, to the University of Pécs. They will help them. These are senior students who will help them to find the immigration office, the registrar's office, where's the faculty, where's the bank, how do I get around here? So this is also really important for their integration into a new environment, because young people never been to the country, so far away from home, so this can really ease their struggles at the beginning. Then we have student counseling, very important service for students who struggle with mental health, who are feeling down, homesick, struggling finding new friends, or just in a culture shock because they come from such a different place. This is basically free therapy sessions for the students. Then we have the Campus Legal Aid Clinic, which is students of law giving legal advice to other students. It's a supervised, monitored service from legal professionals. So it's not just students giving advice to other students, but it's a supervised service. And when I'm saying legal matters, you don't have to think about something very serious. But for example, if somebody wants to rent an apartment, but they are young, they never did that before, and they've never seen a contract before, and they can use this service and, you know, professionals and the students will look through the document and tell them if it's to their benefit or if it's disadvantages, they should sign it or not, stuff like that. We have different student organizations who take care of student social life, organize it, and also they represent student rights at the university. They are not mentioned here, but also I would say student clubs also belong here. They also do a lot of events and, you know, whatever, debate nights, movie nights, excursions. So a lot of activities for students to do outside of the class. Dancing University is a great, unique initiation that is 26 years old now, and it's basically offering students dance classes in different genres of dance. So if somebody's interested in, that can be something. Then we have the Foreign Language Center where they have the option to learn different languages, and Hungarian is included, and we do encourage them to take this opportunity, although it's not compulsory. And oftentimes we see some surprisingly great attitude from students towards Hungarian because they say, well, I'm going to spend 5, 6 years or 3, 4 years of my life here. Why not learn the local language as much as possible? So sometimes that happens. So that can be also interesting for someone. Then we have different sport facilities from hobby level sports to even Olympic level of training. There's infrastructure available, if not within the framework of the university, then in the framework of local sports clubs. So there's also an option to do that here. So, yeah, thank you for your attention. I would really recommend on this last slide checking out our website, especially under the admission tab at international.pt.hu, because a lot of the information that I just told you about can be found there and maybe even more. Also, our social media, and not because I'm trying to hunt for your likes or follows, but our Instagram page is also a very good source of information for prospective students because a lot of the content there is created by our current students, and it shows a lot about student life here and the city of Pécs.